Devontae who? That's right. Alan Lazard looked like a true number one receiver out there on Sunday Night Football. He had himself quite the performance. I had to make a video on him talking about what went right. And so let's just get into it. One of the things that I actually feel like he did really well that people didn't really talk about too much, what was getting talked about was the deep balls down the field, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, I want to talk about just some of the littler things that I thought he did very well. Like on this one, this is kind of a Matt LaFleur special. He loves these types of plays. He runs them all the time, where it's going to be play action to the bottom of the screen, which is going to sort of get those New Orleans Saints linebackers to also move towards the bottom of the screen. But then what he's going to do is that, Rodgers rolls out to the top. You also have Lazard, who's going to sort of flash up in that direction. He's the receiver who's running upwards. And then your eligible receiver, who is on the top of the screen, he's just going to run deep. He's just going to try to get out of that area. You don't want anyone in that area. Legally, you have to have someone on either side of the fields. But he's just going to run deep. He's just going to get out of the area. Hopefully take a defensive back further deep with him. And then Lazard could potentially get open. And again, a lot of this is just speed. And watch how Lazard, when he starts running, you see that the edge defender, he's really the guy who could potentially make this play. He's the guy who could read what's going on. And the nice benefit that you do have is the fact that since it's not past the line of scrimmage, you technically can push Lazard because, you're not past the line of scrimmage, so it's not pass interference. But the problem is that he's just too quick, and there's enough space that he's able to just turn the corner. Rodgers is able to hit them. They pick up a first down. It's nothing insane, but you pick up a first down, and that is very important. It's not the biggest play in the world, but it does help. Another similar thing would happen on this play, where it's going to just be a quick screen pass. Again, couldn't really be much simpler. You have a couple Green Bay players run out to block. Lazard's going to be the one who makes the catch, and he's going to try to pick up the first down. And one little thing about this is that you're going to see a Green Bay player kind of fake as though he's blocking one defensive back, but then actually block a different one. The reason is he's going to just try to get that first defensive back out of position so he can't block Lazard as well. That's just how that works. But again, what I like about this is that, Rodgers gets the ball to Lazard, and watch how he's able to just pull off a stiff arm right there, picks up the first down. So again, these plays aren't crazy. These plays aren't going to make those super highlight reel packages, but at the same time, they do matter, and they do have a pretty good impact in, the way that Matt LaFleur likes to run his offense, because he likes to take his shots, and we'll get into that in just 1 second, I promise, but he also likes to just methodically move the ball down the field, so when he does take his shots, they have maximum percentage chance of converting. Well, okay, let's talk about a couple deep shots. Let's start off with this one. It's going to be cover 4 zone, and typically you would think, just logically, cover 4 zone, that would make a route that you see Lazard running on the screen, a deep route, very difficult to convert, right? Because there's 4 people who are deep, so this way you kind of just assume that someone will be able to run over and cover Lazard. And it's for that exact reason that sometimes it actually can be easier to get someone open against quarters coverage. Not always, but sometimes. It's a little bit like, have you heard about the idea that sometimes when an accident happens in front of a crowd of people, no one calls the police because everyone just assumes that somebody else is going to do it? Well, it's kind of a little bit like that, where basically when you can kind of split the defense, every now and then you can get a hesitation of neither defensive player is exactly sure who's supposed to be covering that area, and you can allow for a slight hesitation. That could be all it takes. And that's what's going to happen on this play, where Lazard basically just splits the 2 defenders, and by the time they realize exactly what's going on, you see that he was able to skip by both of them. And against some quarterbacks, this wouldn't be the end of the world. You could potentially come back on an overthrow, or maybe the quarterback would just, come back on an underthrow, or the quarterback would just overthrow it. However, Aaron Rodgers is pretty good, and watch how he puts this one exactly on the money, despite Lazard. It looked like he was about to fall down for a second, and he's able to make the catch on a very deep pass. Very good play by him. Again, you could argue that's just bad defense. I wouldn't. I think that's good offense, and you're taking advantage of a way that sometimes can go wrong. That defensive scheme sometimes can go wrong. But I also think that was not the only way he was able to beat New Orleans. That was not the only way he was able to beat New Orleans against quarters coverage. He was also able to do something like what you'll see on this next play. This is going to be a cover 4 zone, and again, you see that he's running, and it's going to kind of get into in between. So you're kind of thinking, okay, same idea, right? Split the defense. Makes some sense. And, it's logical to think that way. And in fact, even watch, right when this play starts, you're going to notice that Rodgers takes the snap, he throws the ball deep. And as you see, Lazard is just completely wide open. So, okay, same thing happened, right? Well, not exactly. First, let's just talk about this play. It's going to be a perfectly thrown ball to Lazard, who makes the catch, runs forward, gets inside the 5. I actually heard some people talk about how did Lazard manage to get so many deep balls, but he wasn't able to actually then have the breakaway speed to, get by the defensive backs deep. How come he was able to beat guys deep, but then not able to finish? Usually, if you have the speed to beat someone deep, you have the speed to finish and get into the end zone. But he wasn't really beating guys with speed. Really watch this other angle right here. This is what I want you to take a look at. This angle is really going to give you the best idea of how this worked. I've circled 2 players. One of them, the Green Bay player is Lazard. The New Orleans Saints player, that's the safety who is deep. That's the one who's in charge of covering if there's 4 zones, he would be in charge of covering the zone second closest to the left side of the field and also the left side of the screen. So that's where he's in charge of covering. So there's another New Orleans player who's a little bit further over to the right, just off screen. But the difference is that what Green Bay is doing is they have another player who's kind of running over in that direction just to try and take the other New Orleans player out of the way. The whole point is that Lazard is going to get over the middle, but New Orleans isn't expecting this, so they have their other guys covering other people, which can allow for Lazard to get open. However, that isn't the only thing Lazard is going to do. Watch how he makes a move as though he's going to the inside a little bit, so that way when he gets to the outside, he is able to just get completely wide open. So he didn't get open with speed there. He got open with route running and honestly just with a good play concept against this type of coverage that the Saints just sort of uncharacteristically weren't very ready for, and Green Bay was really able to take advantage. And that's how, a lot of how they were able to put up 37 points even without their best receiver on the field. So, I think it's a really good game for Green Bay, really good game for LaFleur. LaFleur is continuing to prove that he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. And he really got the better of the New Orleans Saints coaching staff. And I think that, I don't want to take a credit away from the players. Lazard did a great job of route running, and he did a great job of doing the little things that led to big things. And so I think Lazard did a really good job. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? What did you think of Allen Lazard's performance? Let me know in the comments below. Has he proven that he can potentially be that number 2 receiver behind Adams? Or do we need to see him do it a little bit more? And maybe when he's, not getting forced targets because of there being no Adams there. Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.